Hello. One day, in 2010, a mother and daughter walked into an insurance company with the purpose of claiming insurance compensation. Normally, this would have been a perfectly routine transaction, but a small detail when the daughter signed her name caught the employee's attention. Then, as the investigation went deeper, the police were shocked to discover that the flesh and blood woman standing in front of them had been recorded as deceased 3 months earlier. So, who exactly was she? And what is the truth behind this story? Our story takes place in Busan, South Korea's largest port city, famous for its dynamism, vibrancy, and modern, magnificent beauty. Among its districts, Gaegum-dong is located in the city center with houses leaning against the mountains, creating a quiet and poetic space. Every spring, the cherry blossoms lining the streets bloom brilliantly, attracting many people to admire them. Gaegum-dong, planned as a fully equipped residential area, has long become an ideal place to live for many. However, more than a decade ago, this very peaceful place was the site of a gruesome crime that would make anyone's hair stand on end. So, what really happened? Next, let's turn back time to September 10th, 2010. On Friday, September 10th, 2010, at around 11 a.m., at an insurance company in Busan, employees were still busy working, everyone looking forward to their lunch break. Right at that moment, a mother and daughter walked in. The daughter was wearing a white hat. She explained to the staff that her sister had unfortunately died in an accident a few months ago, and they were there to claim the insurance compensation. The employee led the mother and daughter into the reception room. According to the proper procedure, before officially paying out the insurance money, they needed to ask questions and verify the information with both of them. Clearly, the woman did not expect the employee to ask about the funeral. She stammered, explaining that the family had some unspeakable matters, so they only held a small ceremony and immediately cremated the body. After that, the employee continued to ask a few more questions. At this point, the woman began to show obvious irritation. "Just now, you even asked if I was her biological sister." Hearing things like that really makes me feel uncomfortable. She questioned whether the employee was deliberately making things difficult for her. To ease the tense atmosphere, the employee took out a file and said that one more signature for confirmation was needed. Originally, the insurance beneficiary was the mother, and she was supposed to sign it herself, but the woman said her mother had trouble writing, so she would sign on her behalf. The employee didn't press further, but his intuition told him something was wrong. He astutely noticed that when signing, the woman's hand trembled slightly. Even after signing, she wiped the pen on her clothes. Normally, few people would do something so strange. Perhaps realizing her actions were a bit odd, the woman proactively explained that she had recently caught a bad cold and her health was poor. "My hands keep shaking. I wiped the pen to avoid leaving viruses on it and infecting others." However, what was more suspicious was that the woman's handwriting was very similar to the signature of the person named on the insurance contract. Even the angle of the strokes was almost identical. Feeling something was amiss, the employee made an excuse that the procedure was not yet complete and invited the mother and daughter to stay in the reception room. Usually, when customers buy insurance, the company records the call for their records. The employee quickly found the recording of this insurance contract and was shocked to discover that the voice and intonation of the person named on the contract were exactly the same as the woman sitting in the waiting room. While the mother and daughter were waiting anxiously in the reception room, several burly men suddenly opened the door, walking straight towards them. They presented some documents, then escorted the mother out of the room, leaving only the woman in the hat alone. She immediately crossed her arms, adopting a defensive posture. The employee held the insurance contract and asked about its authenticity. The woman appeared angry and shouted loudly in the reception room. However, she was still unable to produce any documents to prove her identity, and also showed strong resistance to the police's investigative questions. Shortly after, she was arrested by the police. After being arrested, the woman remained silent, refusing to reveal her identity. The police matched her fingerprints, and the result shocked everyone. Her name was Sun Yui-yeon, completely matching the name of the person on the insurance contract. However, Sun Yui-yeon had been dead for 3 months. So how could a deceased person personally come to claim the insurance money?
이게 뭐 하는 겁니까, 지금? 누구요? 아니거든요. 아니, 무슨 제보를 받으셨는지 제가 궁금합니다.
사람 좋게 이야기하면 하나 드리는 거예요, 원래 그냥 오겠습니까, 이게?
아니, 무슨 제보를 받으셨는데요? 아니, 누가 제보를 했는데요?
Sun Yui-yeon was 40 years old this year. In the eyes of outsiders, she was a woman with outstanding looks, graduated from a prestigious school, and should have married a talented man and settled abroad. However, the reality was that she was unemployed and even had to rely on a basic livelihood allowance. This is a South Korean government subsidy for those in difficult circumstances with low income, ensuring they have enough for minimum living expenses. The insurance company's records showed that before she died, Sun Yui-yeon had densely purchased a total of 7 insurance contracts for herself. The last time she bought insurance was 2 days before her death. The total insurance amount reached 3.35 billion won. For someone struggling to survive to pay up to 3 million won in initial insurance premiums, this behavior was truly highly suspicious. The police judged that this was very likely an insurance fraud case. When doing the paperwork, that woman had presented Sun Yui-yeon's death certificate. The police suspected she might have forged the relevant documents to profit from the insurance money. This situation is not uncommon. Just 1 year before this case occurred, a woman lied that her husband had died in a traffic accident in Indonesia. She submitted relevant evidence, even provided a video recording of the cremation, and managed to defraud a total of 1.8 billion won in insurance money. Subsequent investigation results showed that the couple had bribed relevant people in Indonesia to obtain forged documents, and the husband was still alive. Returning to our case, the police went to the hospital that issued the death certificate to check. The hospital staff and Sun Yui-yeon's family did not know each other beforehand, eliminating the possibility of document forgery. Indeed, a woman had used the name Sun Yui-yeon and was confirmed dead. As the investigation went deeper, what shocked everyone even more was that medical records showed Sun Yui-yeon had been cremated. But based on fingerprint matching results, the woman being detained was the real Sun Yui-yeon. So, who was the woman that was cremated? The police searched Sun Yui-yeon's car and found a driver's license in the name of Kim Yoon-hae, 26 years old. She was most likely the woman who had been cremated. The police interrogated Sun Yui-yeon again, but she still insisted she was Kim Yoon-hae, even biting back. "I just look like Sun Yui-yeon. She died a long time ago. You've got the wrong person." Seeing that the woman refused to tell the truth, the police presented the fingerprint matching results. She immediately fell silent. Not long after, she admitted that she was indeed Sun Yui-yeon and recounted how she met Kim Yoon-hae. However, this testimony was completely different from what the police had guessed. Sun Yui-yeon stated that she and Kim Yoon-hae were not biological sisters, and even before that she didn't know the other's name, only her ID. A few months ago, due to debt issues, Sun Yui-yeon felt the pressure of life weighing heavier on her. She went onto a certain website and there she met Kim Yoon-hae. Kim Yoon-hae lamented that she was abandoned by her ex-boyfriend because of her illness, and her family treated her badly. Son Yoo-yeon coincidentally had similar experiences. The two poured out their hearts to each other, quickly became close, and exchanged contact information. 3 months ago at dawn, Son Yoo-yeon unexpectedly received a phone call from Kim Eun-hae. The other party said she was sitting in front of an apartment in Gaejeom-dong, Busan, and had made a very important decision. Kim Yoon-hae hoped Son Yoo-yeon could come help her handle the next steps. Without hesitation, Son Oh-yeon went there. When she arrived, Kim Yoon-hae was sitting alone, looking very weak and completely drained of energy. Suspecting that Kim Yoon-hae had taken drugs, Son Yoo-yeon helped her into her car and immediately took her to the hospital. Unexpectedly, she couldn't be saved in the end. Son Oh-yeon recounted that at that moment a sudden thought flashed through her mind. If she could continue living with Kim Yoon-hae's identity, she would be able to receive the insurance money and start a completely new life. She convinced her mother to cooperate in the act. This testimony sounds reasonable to explain Kim Yoon-hae's death and their swapping of identities. But upon careful analysis, one would find that there were still many loopholes. Why did Son Yoo-yeon coincidentally focus on buying high-value insurance contracts in the 3 months before Kim Yoon-hae made that decision? Why did Kim Yoon-hae choose Son Yoo-yeon, someone she hadn't known for long, as her final contact? Experts also bluntly pointed out that when seeing someone in a dangerous situation, a normal person's first reaction is to call the police, not to quickly plot to use them for insurance fraud. As the investigation went deeper, police discovered Son Yoo-yeon had never visited the website she mentioned. Kim Yoon-hae's true identity was also gradually revealed. She was a homeless woman from a shelter in Daegu. Kim Yoon-hee used to have a happy and warm family. But a few years ago, her father's business failed and went bankrupt, shattering the family. She also gradually lost contact with her relatives. To survive, Kim Yoon-hae tried to make a living by doing various odd jobs. Unfortunately, prolonged malnutrition and immense mental pressure made her body increasingly weak, almost unable to work anymore. 3 years before the incident, Kim Yoon-hae went to this shelter. There, she appeared very gentle and polite, and was loved by the managers. The shelter's records showed that Kim Yoon-hae left 3 months ago when she was picked up by a woman, and that woman was none other than Son Yoo-yeon. Seeing her lie exposed, Son Yoo-yeon changed her testimony again, providing a completely different statement. She said she did indeed meet Kim Yoon-hae at the Daegu shelter. The two got to know each other, and Kim Yoon-hae had always wanted to go to Busan. On June 16th, Son Yoo-yeon finally agreed to the request and drove to pick her up. On the way back to Busan, Kim Yoon-hae continuously complained, showing extreme pessimism. When the two arrived in Busan, it was already 10:30 p.m. To comfort her son, Yoo-yeon took Kim Eun-hae drinking in Gwangali, a place with many bars and a beautiful night view. Son Oh-yeon recalled that the two drank beer at a small outdoor pub by the sea. At first, she intended to order a mixed fruit platter, but Kim Yoon-hae said she didn't like it, so they switched to ham for a snack. Son Oh-yeon even teased Kim Yoon-hae that her alcohol tolerance was very good. During the conversation, Kim Yoon-hae seemed very insecure. "Sister, no one stares at you walking on the street, but I'm so fat everyone stares at me." After that, the two went to Haeundae to watch the sea and take a walk, and it wasn't until 2:30 a.m. that they arrived at the bench in front of the apartment in Gaejeom-dong to rest. Son Oh-yeon thought that drinking and looking at the sea didn't completely relieve Kim Yoon-hae's sadness. She kept repeating the difficulties in her life over and over again. Son Yoo-yeon, finding it a bit annoying to hear, lost her temper with her. Afterwards, Kim Yoon-hae said she still wanted to drink. Sun Eui-yeon then left to buy alcohol at a nearby convenience store. However, she couldn't find any store still open. 5 minutes later, she returned empty-handed. When she returned to the bench, she found Kim Yoon-hae collapsed on the ground looking unwell. She approached and asked if she was drunk, but Kim Yoon-hae replied, "Sister, my plan is complete. Now I feel very at peace inside." Sun Eui-yeon claimed that it was around 4:30 a.m. at the time. Even though Kim Yoon-hae looked weak, she was still able to get into the car by herself without support. However, noticing Kim Yoon-hae acting abnormally and worried she might do something reckless, Sun Eui-yeon still rushed her to the hospital. She testified that upon arriving at the hospital gate, she didn't have time to turn off the engine or close the car door, but dashed into the emergency room for help. She specifically emphasized that in her hazy state, Kim Yoon-hae still held her hand and said, "Sister, I am so tired of this life. If you want to find a new life, then I give my identity to you." This version of the testimony was more detailed with many elements sounding very real, but there were still many unreasonable points. According to Sun Eui-yeon's account, late at night, the two were hanging around the Gwangali and Haeundae areas. But cell phone records showed that at 12:38 a.m., she was in Yongho-dong, about a 20 to 30-minute drive from Gwangali and Haeundae. In her testimony, Sun Eui-yeon seemingly tried to show that she cared a lot for Kim Yoon-hae and had taken her to the emergency room promptly. But in reality, she had bypassed several closer and larger hospitals. This hospital was less than 2 kilometers from the bench where they rested, a drive of less than 10 minutes. Yet, she spent half an hour on the road to take Kim Yoon-hae to a smaller hospital. On the way to the emergency room, Sun Eui-yeon called the doctor and repeatedly emphasized that Kim Yoon-hae was still breathing. But the doctor told the police that when Kim Yoon-hae was brought in, visible bruises had appeared on her body. Her body temperature was much lower than normal, and her ECG showed no fluctuations. Doctors estimated that Kim Yoon-hae had stopped breathing half an hour or even longer before that. Throughout her entire statement, Sun Eui-yeon described in extreme detail the events of them drinking, chatting, and could even recreate the dialogue between the two. But when it came to crucial matters like the time the incident occurred, her memory became vague, saying she didn't pay attention or didn't remember. Notably, polygraph results showed that whenever the 5 minutes before 4:30 a.m. were mentioned, the time Sun Eui-yeon claimed she went to buy alcohol, her physiological indicators showed clear fluctuations. What happened that day was certainly not as simple as she described. The police retrieved Sun Eui-yeon's communication and driving records, interviewed relevant people, and essentially reconstructed her journey before and after the incident, further increasing suspicions. 3 months before the crime, Sun Eui-yeon started buying high-value insurance contracts with her mother as the beneficiary. She also posted fake job ads on forums. Police suspected that she had started planning the crime from that moment. While browsing the web, Sun Eui-yeon accidentally joined the online forum of the shelter for homeless women in Daegu. She read an essay by the director which mentioned the difficult situation of Kim Yoon-hae, someone with no one to care for her. Sun Eui-yeon then sent a private message to the director claiming to run a kindergarten. She said she had also experienced a difficult life, so she wanted to contribute a little effort to help this woman get a job at the kindergarten. Sun Eui-yeon specially emphasized, "May I ask if there are any women around 30 years old there?" From that very moment, she was already planning to find someone of a similar age to herself. Importantly, someone whose disappearance would not arouse suspicion to act as a substitute. 2 months later, Sun Eui-yeon went to the Daegu shelter and met Kim Yoon-hae. This was the first time the two met. She confirmed Kim Yoon-hai's circumstances promised to arrange for her to work at the kindergarten with a salary of 1.3 million won per month, and would also send her to study at a nearby university to get a preschool teacher's license. On June 16th, Kim Yoon-hai followed Son Yoo-yeon to Busan full of expectations. Unexpectedly, the very next day, she met with disaster. Arriving at the hospital faced with the doctor's questions, Son Yoo-yeon claimed that Kim Yoon-hai had previously experienced abnormal cardiovascular symptoms and had relatives with heart disease in her family. After that, she used her own name to register for medical examination. Following Kim Yoon-hai's death, Son Yoo-yeon did not notify the shelter, but directly took the body to the crematorium. The crematorium staff told her that without confirmation from a family member and related documents, the cremation could not proceed. She then convinced her mother to pretend to be Kim Yoon-hai's relative to verify her identity. She then lied to the medical examiner that she and Kim Yoon-hai had been living together for 4 or 5 years, and she understood Kim Yoon-hai very well. Son Yoo-yeon recalled that at the time the emergency doctor diagnosed it as a heart condition. Because there were no obvious injuries on Kim Yoon-hai's body, under Son Yoo-yeon's deception, the medical examiner issued a death certificate listing acute myocardial infarction as the cause, and on the death certificate sat the name Son Yoo-yeon. Then, within less than 24 hours, the body was quickly cremated and the ashes scattered into the sea. Legally speaking, Son Yoo-yeon had vanished. And from then on, Son Yoo-yeon had completely transformed into Kim Yoon-hai. She sent a message to her creditors saying, "When you receive this letter, I will be gone forever." Afterward, she even used Kim Yoon-hai's identity to take a driving test. Half a month after the incident, the unaware shelter director called to check on Kim Yoon-hai's situation. Son Yoo-yeon lied that Kim Yoon-hai had run away with 5 million won of the kindergarten's public funds and a cell phone worth 700,000 won. She even managed to scam an extra 2 million won from the director. 1 month later, Son Yoo-yeon successfully received her first insurance compensation of 6 million won from the insurance company. Next, she applied for a payout of 250 million won in insurance money. It wasn't until the insurance company employee discovered the anomaly that the fraud she had planned was exposed. Police recovered data from Son Yoo-yeon's computer and found she had searched for keywords like pesticides, homeless women, insurance contracts. All clues pointed to the fact that Kim Yoon-hai's death was closely connected to her. Son Yoo-yeon and Kim Yoon-hai had only known each other for half a month, met barely twice, and held no grudges against each other. If Son Yoo-yeon was indeed the murderer, then what reason forced her to push a stranger into a dead end? And what other secrets were hidden within her that no one knew about? Son Yoo-yeon was born into a well-off family. She had a lively personality, spoke fluently, and was even the student council president during her school days. But such a happy life did not last long. Her family's decline turned her from a sheltered young lady into an ordinary person. In 1997, 27-year-old Son Yoo-yeon lived with her boyfriend who graduated from the same school. However, the two did not register for marriage. Not long after she gave birth to a daughter. After her family's circumstances changed, Son Yoo-yeon's spending habits remained the same. Driven by greed, she quickly stepped onto the path of breaking the law. She committed fraud under her husband's name, resulting in an 8-month prison sentence. When the husband found out, he was extremely angry and filed a lawsuit claiming their de facto marriage had broken down, demanding compensation for damages. Ultimately, the court ordered Son Yoo-yeon to pay 5 million won in compensation. After being released from prison to maintain the family's expenses, Son Yoo-yeon went to work as a teacher at a tutoring center, but the income was not high. To make matters worse, her daughter was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, ALL, a fast-progressing malignant blood cancer that is the most common type of leukemia in children. Early intervention is crucial, as the condition can deteriorate rapidly in a short time if not treated promptly. The expensive medical costs made the family's life even more difficult. By the end of 2005, Sun Yui-yeon started receiving basic livelihood allowances to survive. It is worth noting that on the day of the incident, Sun Yui-yeon deliberately took a detour, avoiding the large hospital where her daughter frequently received treatment. A year later, a credit card company in South Korea launched a charity campaign. People facing difficulties could leave a message on the official website sharing their true stories. After being voted on by netizens, a select few would receive substantial financial support. Sun Oh-yeon seized the opportunity. With her excellent writing skills, she wrote a deeply moving piece. She recounted that after her daughter was diagnosed with leukemia, her once loving husband, unable to bear the massive medical expenses, abandoned the mother and daughter. In order to raise money for her daughter's treatment, she claimed to have sold her only house and was eating only one meal a day. Countless netizens were moved by this article and voted for her. In the end, Sun Yui-yeon got her wish, receiving tens of millions of won sponsored by the credit card company. After 2 years of treatment in 2008, her daughter finally recovered from the illness. However, for Sun Yui-yeon, her daughter recovering faster than expected meant she could no longer continue receiving subsidies. She then began plotting an insurance scam. According to the investigation, she had forged her daughter's hospital admission certificates 47 times, illegally appropriating 130 million won. Later, despite consecutively opening English training centers and cafes, all closed down in less than half a year. Misfortunes never come singly. Right in the year of the incident, she was diagnosed with a gynecological disease and had to undergo surgery. From then on, Sun Yui-yeon lost all her assets and stable income, carrying a debt of over 100 million won. In reality, aside from medical expenses, Sun Yui-yeon's romantic life was the main cause of her poverty and debt. Starting in 2003, she began dating a university student who was 13 years younger than her. Sun Oh-yeon hid her true age and the fact that she had a daughter from him. To win over her lover and his parents, she lied again, claiming she had inherited a fortune worth 2 billion won from her father, promising that they would move abroad together after getting married. To maintain a refined appearance, she spent 8 to 9 million won every month, renting luxury cars, and frequently transferred money and gave expensive gifts to her lover, dining at high-end restaurants, which led her into a severe economic crisis. 5 months before the incident, her boyfriend accidentally discovered that Sun Yui-yeon had hidden her past relationships and her daughter and immediately demanded a breakup. To hold on to him, Sun Yui-yeon claimed she was pregnant, even downloading someone else's ultrasound photo from the internet to send to him. The boyfriend had already found a new love later on, but eventually broke up with his new girlfriend as well. Notably, before the incident occurred, the police had started investigating the previous fraud cases that Sun Yui-yeon was involved in. On the exact day of the incident, she was supposed to attend a court hearing for one of those cases. She knew very well that this case involved a large sum of money and clear evidence. If she showed up, she might face a long prison sentence. Becoming someone else's shadow was the optimal solution she could come up with. All charges would be dropped due to her disappearance, and her debts would be wiped clean. A new identity at this point became extremely urgent. This was her crucial motive for the crime. After a period of investigation, the police concluded there was sufficient evidence and indicted Sun Yui-yeon and her mother at the Busan District Court on charges including murder fraud and several others. Because Kim Yoon-hai's body had been cremated, a forensic autopsy could not be conducted. The cause of her death became the focal point of debate between both sides. The prosecution pointed out that in the 3 years prior to the incident, Kim Yoon-hai had received annual health checkups and her ECG reports were all normal. The probability of a woman in her 20s suddenly suffering an acute myocardial infarction is very small. Therefore, the certificate issued by the hospital should not be accepted. Sun Oui-yeon had searched for a specific substance that, when mixed into alcohol, is very difficult to detect by color or taste. During the interrogation, whenever the substance or its picture was mentioned, the polygraph would show abnormalities. Her boyfriend also testified that he had seen her holding that substance. The emergency room nurse testified that Sun Oui-yeon had described Kim Yoon-hai as vomiting non-stop. But when Kim Yoon-hai was brought to the hospital, her clothes were completely soaked in saliva with no leftover food. And this is the typical physiological reaction of poisoning from a specific drug, excessive unconscious salivation. From this, the police believed that Sun Oui-yeon had spiked Kim Yoon-hai's drink with that substance. In court, Sun Oui-yeon explained that her search history for pesticides was because she was heavily in debt at the time and had developed negative thoughts. She insisted that Kim Yoon-hai's death had nothing to do with her, emphasizing that Kim Yoon-hai had been taking medication for a long time due to illness and had experienced suicidal thoughts due to her poor mental state. Regarding this, the prosecution countered that Kim Yoon-hai was actively seeking treatment, and the medication side effects would not cause such consequences. Ever since learning she could work at the kindergarten, she always seemed very excited, considering it a godsend opportunity. On the day she left the shelter, Kim Yoon-hai specifically wore her neatest clothes. Before leaving, she told the shelter manager that she was only bringing summer clothes and would return to pick up the rest of her luggage once she settled down in Busan. On her way, Kim Yoon-hai even sent a text message to the shelter manager, the gist of which was, "Director, I have set off for Busan. I will work hard. When I get my first paycheck, I will come back to visit everyone." Her tone was full of yearning for a new life, completely unlike someone who had lost all hope. In May 2011, nearly a year after the incident, the Busan District Court issued its verdict. The court found Sun Oui-yeon guilty of murder and other charges, sentencing her to life imprisonment. Her mother was found guilty of fraud and other charges, receiving a 1-year prison sentence suspended for 2 years. Sun Oui-yeon refused to accept the verdict and subsequently appealed. Unexpectedly, the appeal hearing took a dramatic turn. 9 months later, the Busan High Court overturned the first instance verdict, arguing that this case lacked direct evidence. Since there was no victim's body, the possibility of natural death or suicide could not be ruled out. Ultimately, the appellate court declared Sun Oui-yeon not guilty of murder, but guilty of fraud and other charges, sentencing her to 5 years in prison. This result was beyond everyone's expectations. The prosecution was particularly baffled and indignantly pointed out that if such a ruling took effect, it would be telling other criminals that as long as they quickly destroy the body and erase traces after committing a crime, they can escape legal punishment. This acts as a secondary harm to the victim. Subsequently, the prosecution appealed to the Supreme Court. At the same time, a South Korean TV program reported on this case, immediately attracting attention and debate. Not long after, the Supreme Court pointed out that if indirect evidence is sufficient to form a complete logical chain, a guilty verdict can be concluded. The case was remanded to the High Court for a retrial. Following a series of subsequent legal procedures, Sun Oui-yeon was finally sentenced back to life imprisonment. This case became one of South Korea's classic cases, where a conviction based solely on circumstantial evidence was proven. This case reminds people of the famous detective novel, The Devotion of Suspect X, by author Keigo Higashino. Both Sun Yu-yeon and the character Ishigami in the story attempted to use homeless people to execute an elaborate identity swap. But the difference is that reality is much crueler and more terrifying than fiction. To satisfy her personal greed, Sun Yu-yeon not only exploited her daughter's illness for fraud, but also took the life of an innocent person, hoping to hide under someone else's shadow to start a new life. Currently, Sun Yu-yeon is still serving her sentence in prison. She will have to pay the rightful price for all she has done, spending the rest of her life behind high walls. Thus, a complex and convoluted case where the boundary between truth and lies was twisted to the extreme. Sun Yu-yeon, with her cruel calculations, trampled on the hopeful life of an innocent woman to find her own way out. However, the light of justice always finds a way to pierce through the darkest night, even if only through indirect pieces of a puzzle that seem impossible to connect. Now, behind prison bars, perhaps she will have enough time to reflect on the terrible price of the decisions she made. And the story of Kim Yoon-hae about the tragic fate of a person who deserved to live a better life will forever remain a painful reminder of the dark, hidden corners in society and within each person. Today's video ends here. See you again in the next videos. Goodbye.